So I did write down 3 things that I feel like are really important for first-time moms. Like I said, take it or leave it. You don't have to, but you know, if you're really curious, this cat is driving me crazy. Get away! Need that almost to relax their bodies and dilate. Hi. It's like every time he hears me film a video, he's like, like I have a show on in the other room and I had like all his toys out and he had his snacks and this is what happens. But you know what? This is motherhood and I honestly wouldn't change it for the world, but realistically I kind of need like 5 minutes, so. Hey friends, so welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to do just a real quick video, something I've been kind of thinking about as we are getting really close to having our 4th and final baby. I wanted to just give like a little bit of advice, like, you know, it's worth what you pay for it, take it or leave it, you don't have to love it, but like for first time moms, there are a few things that I guess I've kind of learned since I'm now on baby number 4 that I wanted to just kind of give like 3 basically pieces of advice about what I think. I want to give maybe 3 pieces of advice, kind of what I wish that people had told me whenever I was pregnant with my first, because I feel like, you know, there's so many unknowns and everybody is giving you opinions, advice, and sometimes it's really good advice, sometimes it's not so good advice. So if you're kind of in the whole newly pregnant trying to figure out how it's all going to work, just know that you're not alone. Everybody else has been there. And these are kind of 3 things that I think you should consider, think about, just my advice to first-time moms. So number 1, ask for help. Do not be afraid to ask for help. And there's a lot of people that'll ask you, do you need any help? And you almost freeze and you're like, because you don't know yet, you know? So I found it really helpful to kind of write down or just think in my head, like, what are the things that I'm probably gonna need? Like, one of the bigger things that has been super helpful for me is like have friends either bring meals after you have the baby or like even bring you like something that's freezable and you can easily reheat and cook. Because I would say those first 2 weeks after having a baby are like, you need to not worry about anything but just like either establishing how you're feeding your baby, getting, you know, just recovering, because it, you know, it is like probably one of the most craziest things that you will go through. I mean, how do I describe birth? It's so hard to describe, and I always be careful because I don't want, because everyone has different experience, but it's traumatic on your body. So you need to be taking those 2 weeks and not worrying about dinner or not worrying about, you know, and if friends offer to come clean your house, tell them yes. If friends come offer to hold the baby while you take a shower, tell them yes. Like, do not be afraid to ask for help. People like helping. And obviously if you're not comfortable, that's one thing, but I would say do not be afraid to ask for help because it will benefit you. And like I said, those first 2 weeks are always the hardest, or they've always been the hardest for me. So be prepared, try to have a plan in place. You know, your significant other, hopefully they are there to support you. Hopefully you have family, just like, and try to, like I said, try to give people jobs during that time, because a lot of people want to help, but they may not know how. So if you communicate to them, hey, like, can you make me a freezer meal or a couple, or even, you know, come hold the baby while I take a shower, because I tell you, showering in those first 2 weeks is a luxury. So my second kind of piece of advice I would say is, it's kind of like broader, but basically don't let anybody make you feel bad for whatever choice you make in your birth plan or whatever. Because I've watched The Business of Being Born, and I watched and I did the Bradley method, and I remember just being so terrified of getting an epidural of Pitocin because, and of having a baby in the hospital because they're going to tell, because I'm going to end up with a C-section. That was absolutely not my experience. And you have to remember that some of those documentaries, they have kind of an agenda, they kind of have a point that they want to make, and they will, you know, I don't want to say manipulate's not the right word, but they will show you the side to prove their point. And there's a lot of good information in those documentaries. Feel free to watch them. The Bradley method is a really good method, but things may not go the way you think they will go, so you need to be flexible. With my first, I planned a natural labor with a midwife, but in the hospital, because around here we actually have midwives in the hospital, which is great because you almost get the best of both worlds. But I ended up having some health issues and had to be induced, and I was already late too, which kind of helped. And so I ended up with an epidural, ended up with the Pitocin, everything I didn't want. But in the end, the baby was healthy, and my experience was not nearly as bad as kind of what some of these people talk about. Like I said, they'll kind of give you the horror stories to scare you into thinking this is the only way to give birth. It's not. And like I said, be flexible. You might have a birth plan, that's great, but know that things might change. And it's not always about hospitals trying to get you to do something you don't want to do. Their priority is the health of you and the health of the baby. And sometimes that involves doing things, don't mind my kid, that sometimes that involves, doing things you may not have wanted to do. But like I said, I remember one of the biggest issues I had, just to highlight, with my first pregnancy is I couldn't dilate because the contractions were so painful that my body was just seizing up. So when I got the epidural, it's like I dilated really fast. So some women need that almost to relax their bodies and dilate. All right, my third and final piece of advice to first-time moms is take it slow. Like I said, after you give birth, there's gonna be a whole lot going on in your body, and you're gonna be exhausted because depending on how long your birth is, how complicated it is, it could be a lot. So take it slow. They say at least wait 6 weeks before resuming any exercise activity. I would say at 6 weeks, take a personal inventory and see how you're feeling. With my third, I think part of it was because I had 2 older kids and I was trying to be super mom and do it all. Like I think I got way back out into doing too many activities, like even just like taking your kids to school and back, like see if you can get some help with that, especially for the first 2 weeks. Because I started, I think, too soon, and then I really crashed and burned when he was about a month to 6 weeks old because my body was just had not fully recovered. So be really careful with going back to exercise, because as much as you want to, because believe me, we all want to lose the baby weight. We all want to get there. But know that if you get at it too soon, you can almost cause permanent damage to your body. So be careful. Take it slow. And like I said, don't let anybody tell you what you should and should not be doing. It's your body and it's your baby. It's okay. It's okay to tell people, no, I'm not going to do whatever you're suggesting. So don't be afraid to speak up for yourself, because I know that it's hard sometimes, especially with your first. And hopefully you have supportive family around. I know not everybody does. But my biggest thing, just take it slow, especially those first 2 weeks, because realistically your only goal should be feeding your baby and sleeping, because you need to recover. And I would say, like, if I get those first 2 weeks, because normally I have family stay and then my husband kind of helps out for like that period of time, normally you can start to feel a little bit more normal. You're not necessarily in like a routine, but you're somewhat kind of got an idea of what's going on a little bit. So I really hope that's helpful. I mean, like I said, it's just what I felt like I would have liked to have heard whenever I was a first-time mom. And since I've been there a few times, I thought maybe it would be worth telling a few of you. I hope that makes you guys feel better. Good luck in all your pregnancies and whatever you guys decide to do. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.